helping countries get resources as much as possible. And that has to be done holistically. Now, I won't go on the SDGs, I'll skip that, but I want to stop on Nigeria. Now, when most of us are talking about the SDGs, or we're talking about the people and the entry points, we see as if it is something that is created somewhere in the world that people needed to adhere to. But we want to change this narrative. Most of us, when we're asked, we want to see a curb or a stop to the current poverty and the challenges we have in our society. When you're making sure you want to stop poverty, you're basically just attributing something, which is your goal, then become part of the SDGs, and that is specifically for the world. When, for example, your interest is to see that there's a decrease in hunger, or there are more people going to school, or there's more people having access to health, basically that's what we're doing. So it's not something else different. The only difference is why it is put this way is so that we know and measure ourselves. What's our target? Are we moving close to it? Rather than just leaving it open. So basically that's what it is. Now, if this is what we want, this can never be achieved rapidly. Or can never be achieved with poor policies. For example, if a tax authority all of a sudden woke up every morning and decided that every school must pay a levy of 30% of his school fees, what happens? More parents cannot afford to get children to school. So you see, this is just a tax policy. For the government, it's just to make money, but in reality, it takes children out of school. Or they decided that any other, presently, the tax authorities give us relief, which is a form of tax expenditure, on every health product. And also things on gender and all. And then we decide, okay, no, this should be reversed. Will it have consequences? Yes. The consequences is the hospital having access to medical care before. In Nigeria, currently, as it stands, almost everything based on the target to know if we're moving forward is either we're stagnant or we're declining, with only very few where we're moving a bit better. And why you see green here and yellow there is simply because globally, we are actually not among the countries that are even contributing to the global warming. We're just doing our quota, so that's why ours is better. But if you look at poverty, we are stagnant. If you look at hunger, we're stagnant. If you look at food we're stagnant. If you look at education, data is not even completely available. What we're just trying to say is we need to do better, and this is the part where we discuss everything, and especially on the part of tax expenditure. Now, the tax for SDGs support, or the whole alignment support, is to increase capacity to tackle tax avoidance, tax evasion, and illicit financial fraud, and also align financial practices. As I said, I'm also going to keep skipping this. So, Nigeria as a country, as an agreement, decided we're going to focus these policies on some specific goals. It's not easy to just decide you want to align fiscal policies, tax policies with everything. It's not easy to do it overnight. The goal is to do it all. But as a country, with Reforming Tax Finance, there's a selection of goals to work on. Major is called 17.1 to make sure there's an increased domestic resource mobilization. And that's why this conversation is going. If we decide to give too much tax waivers with no control, if the intent, we may come to why we're giving tax waivers. If the intent is to create more jobs, the jobs are not created, and the waivers are given, who is losing? The country. Now, if mechanisms are not established to even evaluate this result, are we really helping ourselves? And the people with the power to control this, because every other constitutional, every other budget approval is supposed to carry tax expenditure as an attachment, and it passes through the House and the Senate. So if that is not being overlooked over, this is the dangers of some of the things we're going to have. So we'll have the resources. And so Nigerians want to work on SDG 1, 2, 8, 9, 10, and 16. Now, some of these SDGs will be asking for waivers. Some of the SDGs will be saying stop the waivers. So that is why it's important we have a good understanding of how it goes. So I want to skip this. So aligning the tax expenditures with SDGs. Now, government pursue different policy goals such as attracting investment, mitigating inequality, and greening the economy through two fiscal policies measures, either direct spending or tax expenditure. Sometimes they just give the money to do things. expenses. Or some other times, no, we just decide we've taken out the tax, or you are not going to pay, please go ahead, and then we have it done. Now, T also knows as tax subsidies, tax benefits, tax relief, tax breaks, any name you want to call it. Why is it even called tax expenditure sometimes? Yesterday I had there was a conversation on why is it called tax expenditure? It's simply called expenditure. I know a lot of people want to define it differently, but simply it's just called an expenditure because it's something you're foregoing, something you're losing because you wanted a certain thing to get. Basically, that's what it is. So anything you decide to give and you know there's something you're foregoing, then it falls within that category. Now, this includes tax incentive, exemptions, reduced rate deductions, and accelerated depreciations as well. Now, besides these stated policies and goals, TEs are often costly and opaque. We all agree from our conversation yesterday. Not everybody wants all of these transparencies to work, and sometimes it causes a lot of challenges. And when ill-designed, can be ineffective and trigger significant side effects or externalities. I had conversations with some of the people who are doing, who are working around investments actually. They also said there are some studies that show it's not even some of the investments that some of the TVs that attract more investment to some development countries. So we see already there are researches to prove otherwise. Now that doesn't mean it should be absolutely reversed. What it does mean is let's tread with care and understand what's going to be done. Hence, reforming TE system should be seen as an avenue for government to, one, increase domestic resource mobilization, and two, better align its tax systems to deliver services. Now, I want us to be ignoring the SDGs so that we don't assume it's a UN thing. If we want to deliver either ending poverty, education, health, you really need to align things right to make sure everything is targeted towards a certain goal. Let's give examples of this targeting. For example, when you give tax exemptions, either of the names you call, used widely to promote sustainability through agriculture. Presently, we have a lot of expenditure in agriculture. If you have agricultural machinery, the capital allowance is called 95.5. So accelerated capital allowance is given. So capital allowance simply means you are allowed to write off the cost of the machinery that is used in production of the goods in the farm in that first year, and write it off as a cost. So that is an expenditure. But the intent simply is so that we improve on food production. So you see, in reality, it may be used to improve on farming and agriculture. So, however, what we are questioning here, what we want our leaders in the House to take note here is, when there is such an expenditure, how is it evaluated to know if it is actually giving the right result? Now, if a person is using the same, I'm not trying to accuse anyone, if he's doing it and he's receiving the accelerated expenditure, and maybe he's using the same agriculture for chemicals that are not maybe for food, I don't know. I'm just trying to give a scenario that can be bad, but maybe it may not be. But bottom line is, that expenditure is meant for this. Another thing is, when you give, as for example, any of the incentive for innovation, lower cost of financing infrastructure, you are working on making sure there is more industries in the country, which SDG 9 is trying to address. When you're doing it around economy, you're boosting the economy and the economic strength, which talks about SDG 8. When you do around clean energy, SDG 7. So globally, another discount that is given that is also harming globally. As I said, get this right. In Africa, we are not really among the countries that are contaminating because what we contribute is insignificant. But in the truth is, more than 2 over 3 of fuel subsidies are granted through tax systems, including the present crisis. I see petrol lines have mass if you are passing by and said between yesterday and today, which means there's still a shortage of getting it, which means either subsidy comeback or price increase. Now, tax incentives should be designed. These are some of the entry points I want us to take. It should be designed to increase productivity. So these are the things we want to be looking at in the evaluation process. Is it really increasing productivity? Or not just because you want to give someone? We had this debate long ago to and fro. If NIPC are here, I'm sure they're going to have this debate again. Presently, we give pioneer status to new hotels, big hotels. NIPC are still insisting that we still have fewer rooms of hotels in Nigeria. For that, hotels should be given. While others are of the argument, oh, why should hotel be? In 1975, we were promoting the sector, people to go into hotel business and all. This is 2023, why should we? But bottom line is, these are some decisions we should look at, and we should look at critically with the facts and the numbers and the zeros to what you've already benefited from. Also, you should stimulate private sector innovation. You should choose incentives that have low revenue costs, such as allowances, tax credit for capital-intensive investment. So this should also be among these that should be looked at. There should be clear timeline for phasing out as incentive. Presently, what we have in the system, in all sincerity, any incentive that comes to stay, it comes as if now they created it with some father and they start out and putting Nigerian name together. All incentives know the book. They are there, but they know the shift. They were created for a purpose. The purpose will pass, they still stay there, they won't change. So these are some of the things that shouldn't be part of our laws and our designs. When we're creating an incentive, it is for this period. We projected that we may overcome this period by so day. We face it. So after that year, you know you are out. Also, efforts to streamline the tax regime to help stimulate tourism, reducing cost of business and all, promote health and promote gender. Well, we're just giving examples. Now, what do we offer? What is the design? What do we have? What are the entry points? For under UNDP, there's an offer for the TEs and SDGs to provide a self-assessment, which comes in a 2-stage toolkit to assess the alignment of the national teams. Now, we're working with the teams that are developing this. The teams that are working this, and we want to see how best we can deliver on this, and we want to make it as much as possible integrated fully into the next reporting. First stage is the structural conditioning, which is about the pilot cases ready to be implemented, already the processes have commenced, then we have the alignment. Now, this is how the whole design should look like. Presently, as we stand today, there has been an attempt to make a first report in 2019, 2020, to make a first report. In 2021, now we're almost concluding the 2021 report. We're hoping to start 2022 as much as we can, and if we conclude in 2021. So you see, there's an attempt to do it. Now, one thing I want us also to learn is, every day, you build on what you were yesterday. So, at first, most of it is just giving. And one thing I also came to learn from my work, I found that it's not that some of the entities don't keep the report. When you're speaking to DPR, they will tell you, we have the list of all people who've given, but they did not fully communicate to finance, or they will tell you, we submitted it to finance, and maybe it is somewhere in the shelf, somewhere in finance. Second, when you're talking with NIPC, they will tell you, go to our website, we have everything. But in reality, they may have not fully communicated it or updated it or followed to reconcile with the finance. Just give you an example. While the actual enforcement of the process and the collection of the taxes rests with the finance. So it becomes data in silos, which is actually not tax expenditure reporting. In reality, by the Nigerian fiscal law, the expenditure is supposed to be pushed to the House and Senate at the end compiled to them. So that's how it should have even gone. But now the communication is even between the actors that are pulling it together, which is not also fully. So you see, there's a need for this coordinated process. So now these are some of the things this communication field is one of the best entries we can have. We have this coordinated. We have a good interministerial scheme where everybody is on the panel. We have a good high level, because when it comes to data, high level is key. We have senior government officials who are dedicated to work on this process. However, sometimes also there's the challenges of what can be gotten without permission. But imagine there's a blanket approval from every top senior and told the person to pump anything you want just give. It makes it much easier, and it have a more comprehensive, something that can be assessed and looked into. Then we see how we can do. Now, all these fall under the assessing the individual teams, which is designed for individual teams. Then next, this form into the reporting and the evaluation. Now, this is the second gap we actually have, the part of evaluation. Reporting is not fully an evaluation. It's just a statement of this is what is going on. Now, some of the evaluation may even require a form of a study to understand the consequences or the impact of it. And because of such study are not there, Kaduna may, for example, decide to say, all and come, we've given you everything. All of a sudden, Ondo will decide, Jigsaw, come, we've given you everything. While in reality, the consequences and the results that may result from Olam giving that and Jigsaw giving that may be different and may have a different consequential result. No, basically, so this is just what we're trying to say. So all of these things have to come in as clear as possible. So without proper evaluation, without proper understanding, you won't get it. Then all put together rest on the governance, which carry the part of the reporting, the evaluation, and the design itself. The whole rest on the governance. It is there that we can actually understand what the revenue form, which forms what we call the tax expenditure. I know, as I said, everybody has a way of defining, wanting to do it, but most important thing is we're bleeding what the country needs. If we're not careful, we are not getting what we bargained for the bleed we got. If you look at different reports coming out, almost every 2 years, you see a report from TE, from ATJ, you see a report saying that Africa loses more money through IFS. IFS is illicit financial flow, money going out. We lose more money than the whole money we get, including the grants and the loans. Why? Because some of them goes through TEs, tax expenditures. Some of them goes through the reliefs that we give. If all of these things can be stopped or reduced or curbed, we then stand a more chance of getting more of the funds that we desire. Then we'll see how better we can utilize them. Now, basically, so this is more English, and then there's also more English. So basically, this is what I have on this, and this is what we hope can create an entry point. As I said, I wanted to make it short, and the intent is now we go into conversation. If there's any question, and also to see how best do we make sure we cap into this. Chile, you want to comment? Yeah.
Thank you, Coordinator. Before we go into questions, just permit me to recognize the presence of the Deputy Clerk of the House of Rep, Mr. Agada Rollins. Please. Also the presence of Senator Sadiq Suleiman Omar, the Senior Committee on Trade and Investment, and the presence of the Committee, House of Rep Committee on AIDS, Loans and Debt Management, Honorable Nabalaba. Okay, thank you for making out time to be here. Sorry, permit me, missed out. Also recognizing the presence of Honorable Abdullahi Rashid, the Committee Chair on Institutional Reforms. Okay, the Deputy Chair of the Committee. So we've listened to the UNDP story and also the civic. So it's a combination of multilateral institution and so it's time for us to ask some questions. If there are any clarifications that is sought, some or inputs as well, as we can take them all in one piece. So, Senator, sir, there's a microphone.
Thank you very much. Can I start with this?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, good. First, let me say sorry for coming in late. I just got into the town yesterday. Unfortunately, today is plenary to have something on the floor. I need to rush back soon. But thank you. What I've met was a very good presentation that stimulated me more in what I've been interested in this country, which is how much we bleed in this country. And tax, relief, whatever, is one big bleeding area. And I'm very interested in it. But this is the problem. Those who operate the system of giving money out to persons, like you said, they report, they keep data in silos. Look, all these things are deliberate. When we talk about corruption, we talk that these things are deliberate. That nobody can see the whole picture. Put the dots together and know where to go and ask questions and get things fixed. So everybody thinks we are legislators, we make laws, and we are politicians too. We are very busy, we are bombarded from all directions. Where do you have time to really focus and look deeper and deeper, do deep oversight, and make sure we track what we need to track? It's a very difficult business. So my question is, how do we, what are the tools that we have that we can use to streamline what you are saying we need to do, which we must do because our economy is in trouble, we are already late, but we must find a way of doing it quickly. What are the tools? I'll be interested in the laws, for example, that provide for these things. Can we review and reform these laws? How are we going to go about it? Because like I said, institutionally, people say we need to strengthen our institutions. We need to strengthen our institutions. That's no grammar we blow. And then you have agencies giving money out. You want those agencies to strengthen the institutions? They won't. They will continue to persist things and leaving gaps that you cannot get those institutions strengthened. We lawmakers, yes, we are supposed to strengthen institutions via making appropriate laws that will allow for good governance. Again, I told you, we have our bigger problems that we cannot be able to face that very well. So, sir, what I want to see at the end of this seminar is a clear-cut roadmap how we are going to make sure we do what we need to do, because we must do this. And I tell you for free that that's how this workshop we are doing. All the English we speak from yesterday that we speak today is English. All I want to see at the end of the day is that, okay, the agency supporting National Institute of Legislative Study come out and tell us that these laws are the problem. Let's reform these laws. This institution, this is their problem. Let's fix this problem. And then for us, at least some of us, we are ready, we can take that and go for the kill directly. That is how to strengthen institutions, because players in those institutions don't want institutions strengthened. They'll continue to leave gaps and be dancing around. Somebody has to come up with strong tools to strengthen them. That person is not with politicians. They probably like deceiving themselves, thinking that politicians will use all their energy and commitment. No, it has to be civil society, development partner. A lot of them are trying their best, but they need to carry this their best to practical level, practical fight, practical support, practical partnership. Especially with we the legislature, because we are the people representing you. We have the power to make the laws, change what we have to change. So I want to see that, and I hope that is going to happen.
Thank you, distinguished senator. I think that's a good one. Before I open, you want to just get on that? But I think it's actually all encompassing anyway. So yeah, I don't know. I will allow subjects.
So first, I want to. I've been telling Chinedu I want to change state, and I think I found the senator that will be presenting this. Is your state adopting? I'd rather have him representing me. Thank you so much for what you brought up. If anything we'll do here, and we didn't come up with a practical result on how to fix this, as you said, to go for the kill, then we've actually wasted this. It's not wasted your precious time. And the plan and the design of this is also more with that. Every step of the way. I only have some few advice. Now I also want to open up. We have other people who also facilitate sessions, who also have experience across the world. just like us want to do so. They may also add to some of these solutions. But I also want to add something. There's something I see work on that part of the world. Now, our parliamentary is not designed that way. But those, their parliamentary is designed that way. But that doesn't mean we can't go a little design. So they have a parliamentary design where internally they have internal work staff that does most of those analysis, because the basic gap we have in the current movement, as much as laws are always challenging, what we have mostly challenges the oversight part. Now, the strength of the oversight, even if you're going for it, there has to be this itemized things. Now, we're going to be a breakdown of what's needed to be done, making sure that the right questions are being asked and this will be itemized. That way, when we have it in kind of guideline, a not map, each, just like a guide notebook, it helps. And this is something I'm sure we're going to cover. But also, as I said, if possible, from internal, because we're even thinking there was so much clash of, okay, should we even plead the National Assembly to also break and form another subcommittee on tax expenditure? Why? Because we're thinking of how do we have this. But this might not be possible. But most important thing is, if within the staffers, there are people who are dedicated, because this is very, very important. Especially anything that relates to trade investment, that relates to finance committee, that relates to appropriation. This is important because it's so much. The data we every day say is not complete, but every day it increases into trillions. So look at it. If we say, imagine if it is complete, maybe it will minus, it will plus, but I'm sure it will only grow. So this, it means we need to be careful, watch this. Also at the same time, have this oversight with general function to make sure that it's also not harming as well. If it is meant to contribute, it is actually contributing. So if it is creating employment, how many employment has it created? If it is meant to make food better, the output last year and the output this year, is it better? Because the more you don't evaluate what you do, the more you're just giving something out. And to be candid, as you said, some of us are politicians, some of us are businessmen. When it concerns us, we forget the reason. Somebody has to call our attention. Because at that point, as a businessman, I will just be looking at my business. I will be insistent. I will forget about the consequences that may come with it. So somebody has to call my attention and say, look, this is harming. If you do it, then you have to have service. So basically, this is it. So I think what you asked, you've actually answered it, and you made the request, so I think it's a clear forward. So if there's anyone that wants to add, Mr. Andrew, you want to add something?
Yes, distinguished Senator, I want to thank you immensely for your intervention. My name is Andrew Lenafric. I was the one that spoke yesterday. And if we leave this place this afternoon without coming up with a roadmap, then we have problems. So we have a committee, like he said, we have a committee that has been working, in the past maybe 1 year. All the relevant MDAs in Nigeria, at the federal level, they are part of that committee. We've not involved the states. We're only working at the federal level. So it is to get everybody together. We prepare a roadmap. What we prepare this afternoon, we will send it to them. They will review everything. Then we'll pass it to CISLAC. And I think from there, they will know how to get it to you. But one of the things we mentioned yesterday is that tax incentives are not totally useless, but that you need to monitor what they are used for. And we are not doing it. So we also mentioned yesterday that there is already an existing monitoring framework which has not been approved, and so it's not being used. So one of the things we'll come up with is also to bring up that monitoring template, so that you can use it even for your oversight. You can use it for your oversight. Then we also mentioned that the MDAs, sometimes some MDAs, just based on mere policy, they grant an incentive. We read out a lot of things yesterday, so we need to put them together and it will be submitted. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. And then the final request, now it is us pleading for the request. When we have all these done, sir, we want you to help us create an opportunity again, where we sit with you, at least the joint committees that matters in all of this, and we take you through all of it again. We don't need to bring in media, we just knock ourselves so that we understand every bit, because for the next 4 years, it's you that will be on this, so that there will be clear understanding. Even if it means there's a need for support, but we make sure that we're clear on it. That way, we have a clarity of where we're heading to, we have a clear result of what we're going to achieve, and we can use it just in October, November. Then at least we have our paper in our hand, while the appropriation bill is also on our desk, to make sure that we start putting everything to pencil so that we have the appropriate solutions. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so thank you very much. You said you are asking for it. It's granted. In fact, we are going to ask for that actually. So that the committee, both the House and the Senate, the chairman and the vice chairman. Don't worry, I will lead this. Any challenge, just meet me. I'm going to lead this. But let me also make another request again, because you said something that is very important. People don't know about it. You said the way the legislature and parliament is designed in some countries that work, America, Britain, is different from here. No, it's not different, but there's a problem. Look, when you hear National Assembly has big budget, so less than 1% of that national budget what goes to National Assembly. I know what that budget is so patchy that you can't do what those countries do. So, you know what? I'm chairman of Senate Committee on Trade and Investment. I have over 15 functional agency ambassadors on that. One of them gives us about over 300 billion naira every year. You are aware of that? Okay, you are giving out, you want to promote export, blah, blah, blah. Where is the result? Who is going to evaluate it? I know how it's designed. I'm supposed to have 8 that should be doing the technical work that we're asking for. You know what? In America, the senator must spend over $1 million for that 8. In Nigeria, it is 200,000 times 12 is less than 2 million. Who are you going to hire? Where are you going to get a professor, a PhD to hire to come and work with me technically? Besides that, your constituents, they are waiting for that position as the only way to reward them for supporting you. So you are not hiring any technical person to come and do anything. It's political patronage. You just give the money only to go and talk to people and share and attend wedding ceremony. So we are incapacitated, even as a legislature. You can't hire the man. So we are here. The solution, like I said, is you guys, development partners, civil society who are committed to this country, you have to fill in that gap for us. Unfortunately, you cannot work with us day to day. You can't really help us. But if you help us with toolkits, guidelines, data, and you share with us, for anybody who is serious and want to do his work, he will know how to use it to better his country. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I have to run now. Yeah.
So quickly, sir, before you run, I just want to give a suggestion, not on this now, not something anyone of us in this room sure can do. But it's something the leadership of this house can. The executive have a role that they engage the multilaterals and request for technical assistance, and they get. Now, why won't the leadership of National Assembly request as well? So they request, and if they give you that technical assistance, it comes at the cost of the multilateral. No, so I'm not saying I can do that. I'm not saying but this is what I have as a fact that exists. So because for me, technical expertise, when it comes to taxation, when it comes to accounting, when it comes to financing, it's not reconcilable. Or else, we just keep having the gap and the gap and the gap. So while we have room covering for the political, which it's also inevitable, we can have maybe 1, 2, 3 sponsored technical experts to support. So it's something that I think if the leadership can coordinate, it's something that the conversation can start. And I know about 4 different multilaterals that goes over. We do that, World Bank does that, IMF does that. Presently, I know some technical experts that are embedded in some of the Nigerian system, and it's simply because the entity requested, can you help me with a technical expert? Sometimes they go as high as anywhere to hire that expert, just to come and make sure that he helps. Some of them, I know someone who is a retired executive chairman of a certain internal revenue in another country, hired as an expert, technical expert for another country to support head of finance. So you see, it is actually worthwhile. So there is a design. Presently in Nigeria, there is a support we do, we call it TIWB, which is also, but let's not go, but this can be done. This can be looked into.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Distinguished Senator and Honorable Members, please, we have a dare request to make. I don't know. distinguished and other honorable members, we have a dear request to make. Federal Inland Revenue Service is actually here, and they are making a presentation on the very first tax expenditure reports in Nigeria. I am pleading if you can give us time so that they will make these presentations. At least we will still put it as one of the packages in the toolkits that we will have with you when we meet later on. But it will be good if you listen to it firsthand and see at least the figures and know exactly what we are even talking about. I don't know whether that's...
So, I mean, he's taking it right now.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you can make